Just have a minute of your time. I'd like to tell you what's on my mind. All the things he brought me through. Some I've seen, some I never knew. I'm so glad he paid the cost. I was blind, I was lost. Grace, His grace, that lifted me, set me free. Grace, ooh, His grace. I begin to read Yahweh's word, and it was much different than anything I had heard. I fell down on my knees, I cried out, Yahweh, forgive me, please, please, please. His love converted me, His mercy set me free, His grace gave me time, His word changed my mind. It was grace. Welcome to another live coming from you, coming at you out of the shot. I'm Brother Yaka Israel from the fourth son of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. We're coming at you with another live broadcast. I will be endeavoring to bring forth biblical, historical information from the Bible, from historical books and records. The name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. Title of the teaching today: what day is the biblical day of worship? Part number 9. We plan on dropping a dime. We got one more in the chamber. We're going to 10 piece on this title here. I believe it is part of the foundation of the understanding of the Most High Yahweh. Once again, I'm Brother Yagda Israel. In English, it's pronounced Judah Israel. I can be contacted for questions or comments at phone number 331-312-4022. For questions or comments, you can call me at the phone number 331-312-4022. And I can also be contacted at the email address YHDHYSRAEL@gmail.com. We can also be contacted by email at YHDHYSRAEL@gmail.com. Once again, Brother Yagda Israel. Title of the teaching today is, what day is the biblical day of worship? Part number 9 out of 10. Got one more in the chamber. Hallelujah. Yahweh. And I would like to just say to the 12 tribes of Israel that scattered to the four corners of the globe, Yahweh be with you, and Yahweh bless you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And like always, my brothers, my sisters, the first thing that we do is put the name on the table, the 4 letters, which we will be using, called the Tetragrammaton. So we're going to put the 4 letters on the table, the name that we will be using. And it reads, let me see if I can get that all on the screen, my brothers, my sisters, my peoples. And it reads, name for God of the Israelites, representing the biblical pronunciation of YHWH, the Shemitic Hebrew name revealed to Moses in the book of Exodus. The name Yahweh, YHWH, consisting of the sequence of consonants Yod, He, Wah, and He, is known as the Tetragrammaton. Let me see if we can pull up one more witness, at least one more witness concerning the name that we will be using tonight. We'll not be using the traditional name of Lord God or Jesus, but we will be using the 4 letters which they call the Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton, or YHWH, is God's personal name as revealed in the Bible. God's name can be represented by the 4 Hebrew Shemitic consonants. These consonants can be spelled in English as YHWH, known as the Tetragrammaton. Known as the Tetragrammaton. These consonants can be spelled in English. Let me reread that, my brothers, my sisters. The Tetragrammaton, or YHWH, is God's personal name as revealed in the Bible. God's name can be represented by the 4 consonants. These consonants can be spelled in English as YHWH, known as the Tetragrammaton. It appears nearly 7,000 times in the Old Testament of the Shemitic Bible. In English, the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton are represented by the consonant YHWH. Yahweh is by far the most frequently occurring name in the Bible. It reportedly appears for over 7,000 times in the Shemitic Bible, while its writers refer to God by many titles, such as Lord, the Almighty, God, Jesus, the Most High, YHWH is the only personal name they use to identify the Supreme Being. The name may be derived from a verb that means to be, to exist, to cause to become, or to come to pass. My brothers, my sisters, go around and grab a few scriptures to back up that point. We're going to run back to the book of Exodus chapter 3 and verse number 13, and it reads, book of Exodus 3, verse 13, and Moses said unto Yahweh, behold, when I come unto the children of Israel, the family of Israel, the nation of Israel, and shall say unto them, Yahweh of your fathers have sent me unto you, and they shall say to me, what is his name? What shall I say unto them? Verse number 14 reads, the book of Exodus, chapter 3, verse number 14, and it reads, and Yahweh said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the family of Israel, I am has sent me unto you. Verse number 15 reads, book of Exodus, chapter 3, and verse number 15, and it reads, Exodus 3, verse number 15, and it reads, and Yahweh said moreover unto Moses, thus shalt thou say unto the family of Israel, Yahweh of your fathers, Yahweh of Abraham, Yahweh of Isaac, and Yahweh of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, has sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. So the Most High Yahweh, right, he's on record saying that the name that he gave to Moses, right, is the name that's on the table forever. So there can no one come up, so no one can come along and alter what he has put on the table, even though we know that it was prophesied that a man would come along and change times and laws, my people. But we know that Yahweh's word cannot be altered. The word that came out of his mouth, it will not alter. Let's see if we can read that. Let's run to the book of Psalms before we grab a few more scriptures. Let's run and see if we can read that in the book of Psalms, my people. We want to run to Psalms chapter 89, I believe, what I need in Psalms 89. And let me peep at what I want out of that. Let me peep at it right quick, my brothers, my sisters. We need the book of Psalms, chapter 89. Let's see what verse we want to pick that up at. Let's see what verse do we need to pick that up at. Psalm 89, and we want verse number, Psalms 89, and we want verse number, we want to pick it up at verse number 33. Book of Psalms 89, and we want to look at verse number 33, and it reads, Psalms 89, verse number 33, and it reads, nevertheless, my loving kindness will I not utterly take from him, nor suffer my faithfulness to fail. Verse number 34 reads, my covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips. This is the word of the Most High Yahweh. So his word cannot be altered. He's not going to alter it. But we know that somebody came along and they added a few tidbits to the word of the Most High Yahweh, right? We know that they altered the name 7,000 times, right? They took out the name YHWH and replaced it with Lord God and Jesus 7,000 times. My people, my brothers, my sisters. Let's get a second witness in the book of Joshua, chapter 23. We want to look at one verse, verse number 7. Book of Joshua 23, verse number 7, and it reads, Book of Joshua 23, verse 7. Now to the one, now that's not right. That's chapter 22. We need chapter 23, and we want verse number 7. My people, Book of Joshua 23, verse number 7. Now that look better there. That you come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their false Yahwehs, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourself unto them. So the Most High say that he don't want us to even make mention of the name of these false deities that's on the planet today. In the book of, I believe it's 2nd Chronicles chapter 8. Let's peep at that right quick. Since we're moving down that road, we might as well go all the way, right? We want to look at the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 8. And I think I want to pick it up at about verse number 5. Let me peep at this thing right quick. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Let me see where I'm at. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. And let me peep at what I need out of this. Is it 2 Corinthians or 1st that I need? Let me peep at it right quick, my people. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Or is it 1 Corinthians chapter 8? 1 Corinthians chapter 8 we need. And we want to pick it up at verse number 5. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. And we want to pick it up at verse number 5. Book of 1 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse number 5 reads. 1 Corinthians, not Romans, 1 Corinthians chapter 8. Let me slow this down so I can be precise tonight. I hope the audio is better. I've been working on it, so trying to figure it out. Listen to all kind of people tell me how to do this thing, right? You know I'm a newbie. Ain't that right? 1 Corinthians chapter 8, verse number 5, and it reads, For though there be that are called Yahwehs, whether in heaven or in earth, if there be Yahwehs many, and Yahwehs many. Verse number 6 reads, But to us there is but one Yahweh, the Father, and of whom are all things, and we in him, and one Yahweh, the Hamashiach, by whom are all things, and we by him. So to us that are true believers, right? It's only one Yahweh the Father and one Yahweh the Son. There's no such thing as no Trinity. My brothers, my sisters, that is another one of those new inventions, you might say. But let's try and grab a couple of New Testament scriptures to bag up the reason why we use YHWH, which we pronounce Yahweh, the 4 letters. Gonna run to the book of Acts chapter 4. I want to peep at verse number 12. Acts chapter 4 and verse number 12, and it reads. Book of Acts chapter 4, verse number 12, and it reads, Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men, whereby we must be saved. So there ain't but one name on the table in order to receive this salvation. My people, we have to get up under the 4 letters, YHWH, which we pronounce Yahweh. So let's see if we can find another, what they call the New Testament scriptures, right? Gonna run to the book of St. John. Want to peep at the book of St. John, my people. Want to look at St. John chapter 20, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 30. Book of St. John 20, verse number 31, and it reads. Book of St. John 20, verse number 31, and it reads. But these are written that you might believe that Yahweh the Hamashiach, the anointed one, is the Son of Yahweh the Father, and that believing you might have life through his name. So the only name in order to grab this salvation is the four letters which we pronounce Yahweh, Y-H-W-H. Now we're going to bring forth a clip, and we're going to get ready to dive into the lesson for tonight. What day is the biblical day of worship? We're on part number 9. We're going to drop a 10-piece. So we got one more piece to get to that 10. My brothers, my sisters. Let me see if I can set this up right quick. See if I can set this up. My brothers, my sisters. As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing, so marvelous. And I want to thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I want to thank you. I want to praise your name for giving me another chance. I want to praise you. I want to give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace. As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing, so marvelous. And I want to thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I want to thank you. I want to praise your name for giving me another chance. I want to praise you. I want to give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace.
I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who can prove to me from the Bible alone that I am bound to keep Sunday holy. There is no such law in the Bible. It is a law of the Holy Catholic Church alone. The Bible says, Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. The Catholic Church says, no, by my divine power I abolish the Sabbath day and command you to keep holy the first day of the week. And lo, the entire civilized world bows down in reverent obedience to the command of the Holy Catholic Church. T. N. Wright, CSSR, in a lecture at Hartford, Kansas, February 18, 1884. The Catholic Church for over 1,000 years before the existence of a Protestant, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. The Catholic Mirror, September 23, 1893. Question: which is the Sabbath day? Answer: Saturday is the Sabbath day. Question: why do we observe Sunday instead of Saturday? Answer: we observe Sunday instead of Saturday because the Catholic Church in the Council of Laodicea, AD 336, transferred the solemnity from Saturday to Sunday. Peter Geierman, The Convert's Catechism of Catholic Doctrine, 2nd edition, 1910, page 50. Question: have you any other way of proving that the Church has power to institute festivals of precept? Answer: had she not such power, she could not have done that in which all modern religionists agree with her. She could not have substituted the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, for the observance of Saturday, the seventh day, a change for which there is no scriptural authority. Stephen Keenan, A Doctrinal Catechism, page 174. There is but one church on the face of the earth which has the power, or claims power, to make laws binding on the conscience, binding before God, binding under penalty of hellfire. For instance, the institution of Sunday. What right has any other church to keep this day? You answer by virtue of the third commandment. The papacy changed the fourth commandment and called it the third, which says, remember that thou keep holy the Sabbath day. But Sunday is not the Sabbath. Any schoolboy knows that Sunday is the first day of the week. I have repeatedly offered $1,000 to anyone who will prove by the Bible alone that Sunday is the day we are bound to keep, and no one has called for the money. It was the Holy Catholic Church that changed the day of rest from Saturday, the seventh day, to Sunday, the first day of the week. T. N. Wright, CSSR, in a lecture delivered in 1893.
All right, there we have it. Straight from the horse's mouth. My brothers, my sisters, let's peep at this thing. Let's run to a couple of scriptures. See if we can run this thing on in. What day is the biblical day of worship? Part number 9. We plan on dropping a dime on this one. So we'll be back for another part number 10. But we want to look at the scriptures. Luke chapter 12, verse number 12 reads, for the righteous spirit shall teach you in the same hour what you ought to say. And we believe that. We believe that in that very same hour, whether it be the midnight hour or the midday hour, the righteous minister spirit will teach you what you ought to say. But let's peep at this. Let's look at it. Who is this minister spirit dispatched? Who is he sent to? My brothers, my sisters. Let's run to the book of Hebrews, chapter 1. I want to peep at verse number 7. Book of Hebrews, book of the Israelites, chapter 1, verse number 7 reads, And of the angels, he said, who maketh his angels spirits, and his ministers a flame of fire. So this word angel and spirit is interchangeable in this case, my brothers, my sisters, my people. Let's drop down to verse number 14. Verse number 14, and it reads, Book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse number 14. Are they not all minister spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? And once again, my brothers and sisters, we see this word heir. It means that they come through a certain bloodline, the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. This is the heirs of salvation, according to what we can read. Let's try to verify that in the book of Genesis. Book of Genesis, chapter 15, and verse number 4. When the people of Genesis, chapter 15, and verse number 4, my brothers, my sisters, and it reads, Book of Genesis, chapter 15, and verse number 4. Where we at? Genesis, chapter 15, and we want to peep at verse number 4, and it reads, Genesis 15, verse 4. Book of Genesis, chapter 15. I don't know how I keep getting 14 on the table, but I need Genesis 15, verse number 4. And it reads, What does it mean to be an heir? And behold, the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heirs. So the one that come forth from the bloodline, right, shall be thine own blood, thy own blood, right, shall be thy heirs. Let me see if I can follow up with a statement that Yahweh said unto Abraham and Sarah. Let me see if I can pull this out right quick. Let me see if I can pull this out. It's a statement here that I want to be able to read in the book of Genesis concerning what Yahweh said to Abraham and to Sarah, right? Go run to the book of Genesis, chapter 17. Book of Genesis, chapter 17. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 19. Book of Genesis 17 and verse number 19. And it reads, Book of Genesis 17, verse number 19. Yahweh said, let me pick it up a little earlier than that. I want to kind of make it sound real good. Genesis chapter 17 and verse number 18 reads, Book of Genesis 17, verse number 18, and it reads, And Abraham said unto Yahweh, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. Verse number 19. Now Ishmael, that was the oldest son of Abraham, which Sarah and Hagar had cooked up some stuff, and Abraham laid with Hagar and produced Ishmael, right? His oldest son. Genesis 17, verse number 19. Yahweh said, Sarah, your wife, shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. So Yahweh said that Sarah will have this boy, right? Let's run to the book of Genesis, chapter 20. Let's see what the outcome of this thing was. Genesis chapter 20. Let me see if this is the one I want. Doesn't look good from my position. Let me pull it out right quick. I want to see what was the outcome of how did this thing be fulfilled, right? I know it's in Genesis chapter 20, 24 it is. And we want to pick it up at verse number 1. The book of Genesis chapter 24. And we want to look at verse number 1. We want to read a couple of scriptures. My brothers, my sisters, my people. Book of Genesis chapter 24, verse number 1. And it reads, And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and Yahweh had blessed Abraham in all things. Verse number 4. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had. Now, this ain't the one I want. I might as well just skip this thing. Let me go pull this thing out right quick, my people. I want to find out what was the conclusion of all this that Yahweh. Yeah, I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time. I need Genesis chapter 21, verse number 1. Let's see what was the conclusion of all this. Book of Genesis 21, verse number 1. And it reads, And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did unto Sarah as he had spoken. Verse number 2. For Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which Yahweh had spoken to him. Verse number 3. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. So Abraham and Sarah produced Isaac. Isaac produced Jacob and Esau. Let's see if we can pinpoint this thing right quick. Since we own this, let's roll with it. We're going to get back on that topic for tonight. But we want to run to Genesis 25. And we're going to pick it up at about verse number 25. Let's see what went down. We want to set the foundation here. Genesis 25. And we're going to pick it up. Let me see. We want to start this from Jump Street, right? Jump to verse number 19. Genesis 25, verse number 19, and it reads, Book of Genesis 25, verse 19. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac. Verse number 2, verse number 20. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban, the Syrian. Verse number 2, verse number 21 reads, And Isaac entreated Yahweh for his wife, because she was barren. And Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah, his wife, conceived. Verse number 22, what's going on? And the children struggled together within her. And he said, and she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. Verse number 23 reads, And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from your bowels. Very interesting language here. 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 manner, 2 different kind of people will be separated from the bowels, right? I mean, from her body, from her belly. And the one shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Verse number 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. What kind of twins was it? We already read that they would be 2 different nations and 2 different manners of peoples. So we know that they was not identical twins. They was whatever that other word is. It It ain't gonna pop. It ain't popped into my head yet. They wasn't identical, but they was twins, whatever that other word is. I don't know. It haven't came into my mind yet. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Verse number 25. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. So let's peep at that statement there. The first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. We're going to run to the book of Leviticus. Let's see what he's talking about here. Leviticus chapter 13. Let me see what we want to pull up out of Leviticus 13. So the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. So we want to peep at that to see exactly what's going on, right? Let's see if we can get a bird's eye view of what they talking about here in the book of Leviticus. We want chapter 13, and we want to get right down to it. Verse number 13, and it reads, Leviticus 13, verse number 13, and it reads, Book of Genesis 13, verse 13. Then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that have the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. So this is how Esau came out, looking like a leopard, all white, that pale skin where the blood showed through his skin. That's why he is called in some parts of the earth redneck, right? So Esau was red all over like a hairy garment. Let's run back to that Genesis chapter 25. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 25. The book of Genesis chapter 25, verse number 25 reads, And the first came out red all over. We just read in Leviticus 13:13. If it's all over, then he is clean. He just done turned to a pale individual, white, as they call it, right? And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. Verse 26, and after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. So let's see how this thing broke down between Esau and Jacob. We got Abraham on the table. We got Isaac on the table. So we want to find out how this thing broke down when it came to Esau and Jacob. We want to run to our Apocrypha, and we want to look at the book of 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra chapter 3. I believe I need. Let me peep at this thing right quick. 2nd Ezra chapter 3. Let me look at this. We need 2nd Ezra. We want chapter 3, and we want to get right down to it, my brothers, my sisters. 2nd Ezra chapter 3, and we want to look at verse number, let me see what we want out of this. I'll pick it up at verse number 13, and it reads, 2nd Ezra chapter 3. We want to peep at verse number 13 and read a little bit, and it reads, Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Verse number 14 reads, verse number 14, Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will. Verse number 15, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldest never forsake his seed, the ones that came forth out of his bloodline. So we got Abraham and we got Isaac, right? Now we got two more nations, right? Esau and Jacob. Let's see how this thing played out, my brothers, my sisters. 2nd Esdras 3, verse number 16 reads, And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. Very important information here. So the Most High chose Jacob, right? And he put back. That means he walked right past Esau and chose him from Jacob. Now I want to see, what did the Most High know that most of the world don't know? We want to run to the book of Jubilee. Now his mother and his father, right, made a few statements concerning this guy called Esau. And we want to read a little bit of this, of what his mama and his daddy had to say concerning him. We're going to run to the book of Jubilees right quick. Jubilees, the book of Jubilee. We're in chapter 35, and we're looking at page number 126. We're going to pick it up at verse number 7, and it reads, And Jacob laughed at the words of his mother, because his mother had said unto him that she should die, and she was sitting opposite to him in position of her strength. And she was not infirm in her strength, but she went in and out and saw, and her teeth were strong, and no ailment had touched her all the days of her life. Verse number 8, And Jacob said unto her, Blessed am I, mother, if my days approach the days of thy life, and my strength remain with me, thus as thy strength, and thou wilt not die, for thou art jesting idly with me regarding thy death. Verse number 9, And she went in to Isaac and said unto him, One petition I make unto thee, make Esau swear that he will not injure Jacob, nor pursue him with enmity, for thou knowest Esau thoughts that they are perverse from his youth. Now you hear what his mother said. Say his thoughts are perverse from his youth. Let's see if we can bag that up. We're going to run to the book. Going to run back to the regular KJV online Bible. We're going to run to the book of, I believe, Habakkuk, I believe. Is that the one I need? Let's run to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3. Let me see if that's what I need. The book of Habakkuk. Let me see. I want to hit that nail on the head with this hammer, right? So let me see exactly what I need out of this before I call it, you know. Let me make sure I'm on point. I said Habakkuk, right? Habakkuk, is that the one I need, or is it Haggai? I believe it's Haggai. Let me peep at Haggai right quick. I want to look at the book of Haggai. Let me see if we got some Haggai on the table here. Let me see if I can pull out some Haggai. The book of Haggai. It's a statement that I want to read out of the... Well, it is Habakkuk. I guess I was right about that. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 1. We're coming back to that Genesis to conclude that. We're going back to that Jubilees to conclude that. But we want to run to the book of Habakkuk, chapter 3, and verse number 1. And it reads, Book of Habakkuk, chapter 3, verse number 1. A prayer of Habakkuk, the seer, the prophet, upon Shigionoth. Verse number 2 reads, O Yahweh, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, revive thy work in the midst of the year. In the midst of the years, make known in wrath. Remember mercy. Verse number 3. Yahweh came from Teman, and the righteous one from the Mount Paran. Shalah, his glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. Verse number 4. And his brightness was as the light. He had horns, and I'm missing something right here now. I should be down hit it on the, hit this nail on, with this hammer up by now. Let me go back to this book. Let me see what I'm missing here. Habakkuk chapter 2. We're in Habakkuk now. We're in Habakkuk chapter 3. No wonder I'm missing out on something. The book of Habakkuk chapter 2. And we want to peep at verse number 1. And it reads, book of Habakkuk chapter 2, verse number 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. Verse number 2 reads, and Yahweh answered me and said, write the vision, and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth. Verse number 3 reads, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Verse number 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. So somebody soul that lifted up, the Most High said it's not right in him. And we read what Esau, mama, and what his daddy say concerning him, right? Let's go back to that the book of Jubilees right quick. Chapter 35. And we're going to pick it back up at verse number 9. And it reads, she went in to Isaac and said unto him, one petition I make unto thee. Make Esau swear that he will not injure Jacob, nor pursue him with enmity. For thou knowest Esau thoughts that they are perverse from his youth, and there is no goodness in him. For he desireth after thy death to kill him some Jacob. Let's see if we can back that up with the regular, as they call it, the regular KJV. We're going to run to Genesis chapter 27. Let's see if we can back that statement up in Genesis 27. And I'm going to just take a shot at it. Verse number 27. Let me see what we come up with. Genesis chapter 27. And we're going to pick it up. Let's see how this thing played out. Let's go ahead and get the whole storyline here. Genesis 27, verse number 1. And it reads, and it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau, his eldest son, and said unto him, my son. And he said unto him, behold, here am I. Verse number 2. And he said, behold, now I am old, I know not the day of my death. Verse number 3. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapon, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison. Verse number 4 reads, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. Verse number 5. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. Verse number 6 reads, and Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, verse number 7 reads, bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat and bless thee before Yahweh, before my death. Verse number 8. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, according to that which I command thee, according to that which I command thee. Verse number 9. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for your father, such as he loved. Verse number 10. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. Verse number 11. And Jacob said to his Rebekah, his mother, Behold, Esau my brother, he red and hairy. My brothers, my sister, that identified Esau, what the world called the white man, right? Genesis 27, verse 11. And Jacob said to Rebekah, his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am smooth, and I am a smooth man. Verse number 11. Verse number 12. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. Verse 13 reads, And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. Verse number 14. And he went and fetched, and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. Verse number 15. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her oldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob, her younger son. Verse number 16. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. Well now, brothers, sisters, we done find out who is the goat. It ain't Michael or the bird. It's Esau. It's the goat. My people. Genesis 27, verse 16, and it reads, And she put the skin of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. Verse 17, and it reads, And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son. Verse number 18, and it reads, And he came unto his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? Verse number 19, And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. Verse number 20. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because Yahweh, your Yahweh, brought it me. Verse number 21. And it reads, And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. Verse number 22. And Jacob went near unto Isaac, his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau, red and hairy, right? Verse 23. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Verse number 24. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. Verse number 25. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat, and he drank. And he brought him wine, and he drank. Verse 26. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near, my son, and kiss me, my son. Verse 27. Oh, Isaac is pulling out all the stops, right? He knows the importance of this blessing, my brothers, my sisters. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field, which Yahweh had blessed. Verse 28, Therefore Yahweh give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Verse number 29, Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Yahweh over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be everyone that curses thee, and blessed be he that blesses thee. So the blessing was given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Jacob received the blessing from his fathers. Now you say, well, they cooked up some stuff and tricked old Isaac, right? But let's see if that's a true statement. They cooked up some stuff, right? And they deceived Isaac, right? Let's run to the book of Romans chapter 9. We're going to see what the Most High got to say concerning the matter, right? The book of Romans. We want to peep at Romans chapter 9. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 1. Romans chapter 9, verse number 1. And it reads, I say the truth in Yahweh the HaMashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bear me witness in the righteous spirit. Verse number 2. That I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my mind. Verse number 3 reads, For I could wish that myself were accursed from Yahweh, from my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, according to the bloodline, right? We're going to drop down to verse number 5. We want to get to this matter and keep it moving, right? The book of Romans chapter 9, verse number 5. Whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh, HaMashiach, Yahweh the HaMashiach came, who was over all, Yahweh blessed forever. Hallelujah, Yahweh. Verse 6. Not as though the word of Yahweh had taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Verse number 7. Neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, but in Isaac shall thy seed be called. Verse number 8. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of Yahweh, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Verse number 9 reads, For this is the word of promise. At this time will I come, and Sarah shall have a son. Verse number 10 reads, verse 10, And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac. Verse number 11, For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh, according to election, might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. Now see how this thing broke down. It was said unto her, The elder shall serve the younger. It was said she already knew how the Most High had established, the way this thing would go. It would go from Abraham to Isaac, from Isaac to Jacob. We read in the book of 2nd Ezra 3. Did we finish that? We didn't even finish that. Let's go back and pick that back up. Let's run back to that Apocrypha. We want to run back to 2nd Ezra 3, verse number 16. Let's see how this thing played out. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac also thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, but put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. So the Most High chose him some Jacob before they was born. He had already pulled Jacob to the side, right? Let's run and read a little bit more. Let's see if we can follow up this statement. Gonna run to the book of Ecclesiasticus, which is called Sirach, right? Which we call Sirach. And we want to look at Ecclesiasticus chapter 17 And we're going to drop down about verse number 13. Let me see if we hit the nail on the head. Ecclesiastes 17, verse number, well, let's pick it up at verse number 16. And it reads, every man from his youth is given to evil. Either could they make to themselves fleshly minds for stony. Verse 17. For in the division of the nations of the whole earth, he set a ruler over every people. But Israel is Yahweh's portion. So the one that he chose was Israel. That's the one he chose. There wasn't no trickery going on. This thing was told to Rebecca from Jump Street. So we're going to go and try to bring it out. We're going to run to this book called the Book of Jasher. And we want to look at the book of Jasher, chapter 26, which in my book is page number 54 and 55. We're going to pick it up at verse number, where we want to start this at. Let's pick it up at verse number 7. And it reads, the book of Jasher, chapter 26, verse 7. And it reads, for thou art Yahweh, our Yahweh. Our eyes are toward thee, to give us seed of men, as thou didst promise us. For thou art Yahweh, our Yahweh, and our eyes are directed toward thee only. Verse number 8. And Yahweh heard the prayer of Isaac, the son of Abraham, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. Verse number 9. And then about 7 months after the children struggled together within her, and it pained her greatly that she was weary on account of them. And she said to all the women who were then in the land, did such a thing happen to thee? Does such a thing happen to you as it has to me? And they said unto her, nope. Verse 10. And she said unto them, why am I alone in this among all the women that were upon the earth? And she went to the land of Moriah to seek Yahweh on account of this. And she went to Shem and Eber, his son, to make inquiry of them in this matter, and that they should seek Yahweh in this thing respecting her. Verse number 11. And she also asked Abraham to seek and inquire of Yahweh about all that had befallen her. Verse number 12. And they all inquired of Yahweh according to this matter. And they brought her word from Yahweh and told her, 2 children are in thy womb, and 2 nations shall rise from thee, and 2 nations shall rise from them, and 1 nation shall be stronger than the other, and the greater shall serve the younger. Verse number 13. And when her days to be delivered were completed, she kneeled down, and behold, there were twins in her womb, as Yahweh had spoken to her. Verse 14. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. And all the people of the land called his name Esau, saying, that is the one was made complete from the womb. So he was incomplete because he was not like the rest of the people on the planet. He came out totally different, opposite, 2 different manner of peoples. Verse 15. And after that came his brother, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. Therefore they called his name Jacob. So we're going to go back to this Romans. We found out that it was already said unto her, right, that the elder shall serve the younger. Verse number 13 reads, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So it was already told to Rebekah which one was to receive the blessing. It was Jacob. And let's see what happened to Jacob right quick. Since we're on this, we're already over the hour mark, and I'm just rolling along. Let's see what happened to Jacob in the book of Genesis. Let's see if we can follow up. Genesis chapter 32. Well, let's just go to 35 and get this on out the way. Genesis 35, and we want to peep at verse number 9. Book of Genesis 35, verse number 9, and it reads, And Yahweh appeared unto Jacob again when he came out of Padanaram and blessed him. Verse number 10. Yahweh said unto him, Your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called any more Jacob, but Israel shall be your name. And he called his name Israel. So we find out that Jacob's name was changed to Israel. See if we can get a line on what the name Israel means. We're going to run to the book of Genesis 28, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 28. Genesis 32, verse 28, and it reads, book of Genesis 32, verse 28. And he said, Your name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with Yahweh and with men, and hast prevailed. So the name Israel give you a position, which is a prince, and that you have power with Yahweh and with man. Let's go back to that Genesis chapter 27. Let's follow up that storyline. Then we're going to get into a little bit of that. What day is a biblical day of worship, right? We're going to run to Genesis chapter 27. And we're going to pick it up at about verse number 41. Let's see what was the conclusion of this story. And it reads, Genesis 27, verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his mind, The day of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So Esau, Eve had it in for Jacob from the jump street, right? And when he got the dominion, he put his foot on Jacob's neck. Ain't that right? But let's run back to that Jubilee, chapter 35. We want to finish the conclusion of that storyline, right? What his mama and what his daddy said concerning this guy called Esau, right? We in Genesis 35, verse number 10, and it reads, And thou knowest all that he hath done since the day Jacob his brother went to Haran until this day. How he hath forsaken us with his whole mind, and have done evil to us. Thy flocks he hath taken to himself, and carried off all of thy possession from before thy face. Verse number 11. And when we implored and besought him for what was our own, he did as a man who was taking pity on us. Verse number 12. And he is bitter against thee, because thou didst bless Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, right? Thy perfect and upright son. For there is no evil, but only goodness in him. And since he came from Haran unto this day, he have not robbed us of aught. For he bringeth us everything in this season always, and rejoices with all his mind when he taketh at his hand, and he blesses us, and have not parted from us since he came from Haran unto this day. And he remained with us continually at home, honoring us. Verse 13. And Isaac said unto her, I too know and see the deeds of Jacob, who is with us, how that with all his mind he honoreth us. But I loved Esau formerly more than Jacob, because he was the firstborn. But now I love Jacob more than Esau, for he have done manifold evil deeds, and there is no righteousness in him. for all his ways are unrighteous and violence. Verse 14, and now my mind is troubled because of all his deeds, and neither he nor his seed is to be saved. For there are those who will be destroyed from the earth, and who will be rooted out from under heaven. For he hath forsaken Yahweh of Abraham, and gone after his wives, and after their uncleanness, and after their error, he and his offspring. So not only Esau is up under this thing, but his offspring as well. So we read in that very same hour, Luke chapter 12, verse 12, the righteous minister spirit will teach you what you ought to say. Let's follow up with that. Go right to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. Want to peep at Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9. We want to look at one verse, verse number 17. Wisdom of Solomon 9, verse number 17, and it reads. Let me see if I can't even get there. I ain't even in Wisdom of Solomon. I'm missing the mark in every way, but in every way, let me just put it that way. The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9, verse 17, and it reads, Wisdom of Solomon 9, verse 17, and thy counsel who have known, except thou give wisdom, and send thy righteous spirit from above. So the righteous spirit, the angels, they are sent, right? Let's follow up with that statement. Let's run to the book of St. John. We'll run to the book of St. John. Let me get back into this regular KJV, right? And we want to look at the book of St. John, chapter 14. We want to peep at St. John, chapter 14. We're going to look right at verse number 26. St. John 14, verse number 26. If I can get there. St. John 14, verse 26, and it reads, Book of St. John 14, verse 26. But the Comforter, which is the righteous spirit, whom the Father will send in my name. So this righteous minister spirit, he ain't calling no shots. No such thing as no Trinity. You got the Father, and you got Yahweh the Son, the Hamashiach, right? That's the order of things. You got the Father, and then you got the Son. But the Comforter, which is the righteous spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto thee. Whatsoever I have said unto thee. Let's run to the book of St. John, chapter 16. We want to pick it up at verse number 13. St. John 16, verse 13, and it reads, Book of St. John 16, verse number 13. Howbeit, when he, the Spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that shall he speak, and he shall show you things to come. Verse number 14. He shall glorify me, for he shall receive of mine, and shall show it unto thee. So the minister spirit, the one they call the angel, what the world say is part of the Trinity. His duty is just to take care of the Most High's business. Most High Yahweh the Father give it to the Son, right? The Son give it to the minister spirit, and he sent him to take care of the duty, right? Let's run to the book of Psalms. Let's see if we can grab a statement in the book of Psalms, my people. We're going to run to the book of Psalms, chapter 104, verse number 30. Psalm 104. We want to see the position of these minister spirits, right? Psalm 104. Let's pick it up at verse 29. Let's read a little bit, my brothers, my sisters, and it reads, Psalm 104, verse 29. Thou hidest thy face, they are troubled. Thou takest away their breath, they die. and return to the dust. Verse number 30, and it reads, Psalm 104, verse number 30. Let's see if I can get there. Now send this forth thy spirits, or these minister spirits, right? They are created, and you renew it, the face of the earth. So these minister spirits ain't calling no shots. They only following the commandments of Yahweh. Let's read that. Psalm 103, verse number 19. Let's pick that up at Psalm 103, verse number 19. And it reads, Book of Psalm 103, verse number 19. And it reads, Psalm 103, verse 19. Yahweh hath prepared his throne in the heaven, and his kingdom ruleth over all. Verse 20. Bless Yahweh, you his angels, or your spirits, right? Minister spirits, that excel in strength, that do whatever he command them to do, right? That do his commandments, hearkening unto the voice of his words. Verse 21. And it reads, Bless ye Yahweh, all you his hosts, ye ministers of his, that do his pleasure. My brothers, my sisters, my peoples, these angels, they don't call no shot. They just do as they commanded to do. Let's get an example in the book of Luke. You say, well, yeah, that's in the Old Testament, right? Let's run to the book of Luke, chapter 1. And we want to pick it up at, let's pick it up at verse number 7. Luke chapter 1, verse number 7. Let me see if I hit the nail on the head. Book of Luke chapter 1, verse 7. They had no, well, let me go on and move on down the road. I don't want that piece of the information. And it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before Yahweh in the order of his courts. Now this is talking about Zacharias, the father of John, the one they called the Baptist, right? According to the custom of the priest, Luke 1, verse number 9. According to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of Yahweh. Verse number 10. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. Verse number 11. And it reads, the book of Luke chapter 1, verse number 11. And there appeared unto him an angel of Yahweh, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. So we got this righteous minister spirit, right? He done popped up on Zachariah. Let's see what he say. What do he say? Do he say that he come to tell him what he think and what he feel, right? Let's run and see what he say here. The book of Luke chapter 1, verse number 18, and it reads, And Zacharias said unto the angel, Whereby shall I know? Let me go back and get the storyline here. The book of Luke chapter 1, verse 17. And he said, And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the minds of the fathers to the children, and the disobedience to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for Yahweh. Verse number 18. And Zacharias said unto the angel, Whereby shall I know this? For I am old man, and my wife well stricken in years. Verse number 19. And the angel answered and said unto him, I am Gabriel, that stand in the presence of Yahweh, and am sent. Now they ain't calling those shots. They sent to speak unto thee and to show thee these glad tidings. So let's see if we can jump into this lesson. What day is the biblical day of worship? I will be endeavoring to bring forth biblical and historical information from the Bible, from historical books and records. The name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. The title of the teaching today is What Day is the Biblical Day of Worship? Part number 9. Like I said before, we plan on dropping a 10-piece So we got one more part of this. Then we're going to go to the Feast of Purim. It's just right around the corner in the third month. Is that the third month? I believe the third month. No, the 12th month. It's in the 12th month, my brothers and sisters. 14th and 15th day. And what they call the month of March will be the Feast of Purim. So we're going to start this time next week. We're going to start on the teaching to generate our mindsets to the Feast of Purim and what its importance is. But the teaching for tonight is, what day is the biblical day of worship? I'm Brother Yagdai Israel. I can be contacted by phone at the number of 331-312-4022. Once again, I can be contacted by phone. The number is 331-312-4022. And also, I can be contacted by email at email YHDHYSRAEL@gmail.com. Once again, my brother, title of the teaching today, what day is the biblical day of worship? So we're going to try to dive in a little bit into this lesson. We're going to run to the book of, let me see where we want to start this up. Let's start it in the book of Exodus, chapter 16. Start it right there. In the book of Exodus, chapter 16, and verse number 4. Book of Exodus, chapter 16. Well, before we go through the scriptures, let me prep for this clip right quick. Let's see if I can prep for this clip. Let me see what we got going on. Let me prep for this clip, my brothers, my sisters.
As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing, so marvelous. And I wanna thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I wanna thank you. I wanna praise your name for giving me another chance. I wanna praise you. I wanna give you thanks for giving me your mercy and your grace. As I open my eyes to another day, I see the sunrise, and I begin to say, ooh, Yahweh creation, ooh, it's so amazing. Lord, I wanna thank you for giving me another day. Ooh, I wanna thank you. I wanna praise your name for giving me another chance. I wanna praise you. I wanna give you thanks for giving me your...
One popular belief is that it's because God changed the Sabbath to Sunday in the New Testament. For instance, the Westminster Confession states, "From the beginning of the world to the resurrection of Christ, the Sabbath was the last day of the week, and from the resurrection of Christ was changed into the first day of the week." However, many Christians might be surprised to learn that the New Testament itself does not teach that the Sabbath had changed. The apostles continued to keep the Sabbath on the seventh day, long after the Messiah's resurrection, and, as we'll see, Sunday was not widely considered a replacement of the Sabbath in Christianity until centuries after the time of the apostles. Some might say that the New Testament speaks about the apostles meeting on the first day of the week, Sunday. There is one, maybe two passages that mention early believers meeting on Sunday. However, there is no indication that these were weekly meetings, let alone that the earliest Christians had any intention of changing the Sabbath. In fact, according to the book of Acts, the earliest Christians continued to observe the Sabbath on the seventh day. Luke records that it was Paul's custom to worship in the synagogue on the Sabbath, just like it was Jesus' custom. According to New Testament scholar Harold Weiss, the New Testament shows that the Sabbath occupied a prominent position in the early Christian communities. Since the Bible does not support replacing the seventh-day Sabbath with Sunday, how did we get to where we are today with most Christians worshiping on Sunday instead? We will explore that question soon, but first, while the transition from Sabbath to Sunday began early in Christian history, many might be surprised to learn that this change was not immediate, nor was it universal among Christians. For instance, two 5th century church historians, Socrates Scholasticus and Sozomen, testify that almost all Christians outside of Alexandria and Rome continued to observe the Sabbath alongside Sunday. As scholar Kenneth Strand observes, this evidence demonstrates that, quote, even as late as the 5th century, almost the entire Christian world observed both Saturday and Sunday for special religious services. So, the earliest Christians did not consider Sunday a replacement for the Sabbath. Again, outside of Alexandria and Rome, most Christians observed both days. So, what happened? Well, during the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, there was a growing conflict between Jews and the Roman Empire. This conflict, quote, made it necessary for Christians to develop a new identity in order to avoid the repressive and punitive measures, fiscal, military, political, and literary, aimed at the Jews. In Alexandria and Rome, where persecution of Jews was especially fierce, there was a strong motivation to disassociate Christianity from Judaism. This led to the Christian communities in those places abandoning Sabbath observance early on. But once again, these motivations were not universal. As we saw earlier, most Christians living outside of Alexandria and Rome continued to observe the Sabbath in addition to Sunday as late as the 5th century AD. In any case, the earliest Christians did not consider Sunday a replacement of the Sabbath. Sunday was its own religious day. In fact, originally, Sunday was not even a day of rest. So, how did Sunday eventually become recognized as the quote-unquote Christian Sabbath? Well, on March 7th, 321 AD, the Emperor Constantine decreed that Sunday would be a day of rest. Christian historian Justo Gonzalez summarizes the significance that this edict had for Christians. Now that Sunday became a day of rest, civil laws had to determine what work was lawful on that day. This was soon followed by ecclesiastical laws also determining which activities were allowed on Sunday and which were forbidden. Under such circumstances, it is not surprising that Sunday was now connected with Sabbath rest and with the commandment ordering it. This was the great change introduced by Constantine's decree. It brought about a connection between Sunday and Sabbath rest that was not present in earlier Christian thought and devotion. In the long run, this would lead to discussions as to whether Sunday abolished the Sabbath, whether Christian worship should be on the Sabbath, and so on. Constantine's decree opened the door for later ecclesiastical authorities to discourage Sabbath observance and mandate Sunday observance exclusively. For instance, around 60 years after this decree, the Council of Laodicea's Canon 29 demanded Christians must not Judaize by resting on the Sabbath, but must work on that day, rather honoring the Lord's Day, Sunday, and if they can, resting then as Christians. As time went on, church authorities increasingly disparaged Sabbath observance and promoted only Sunday observance, as Strand remarks. This process brought about a widespread conflict of Sunday with the seventh-day Sabbath, and eventually in medieval times this Sunday Sabbath came to displace the original Saturday Sabbath generally throughout Europe. After the Reformation, in English-speaking countries, Sunday not only replaced the Sabbath, but also even came to be called the Sabbath. Protestant Christian confessions, sermons, and literature from this period all affirm the Sabbath commandment, yet Sunday is what is meant. So the Sabbath was changed from Saturday to Sunday not by the scriptures, but by political edicts and church councils centuries after the time of the apostles. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with going to church on Sunday, or any other day for that matter. Historically, we know that Christians did hold religious services on Sunday. However, there is a problem when we break commandments for the sake of keeping traditions. We must not be like the Pharisees whom Jesus rebuked by saying, "You have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to establish your tradition." May we as Christians uphold the scriptures as our final authority. The fourth commandment says to honor the Sabbath. The seventh day, not the first day or any other day, is a holy day that God told us to keep. Let's obey the scriptures like the apostles did and remember the Sabbath.
Straight from the horse's mouth. What day is the biblical day of worship? Let's peep at that. I'm reading from this book called The Calendar, History, Lore, and Legends. I'm reading on page number 32, chapter number 1, and it reads, "The week, a distinct unit. The week has a place all its own in the calendar. It is the only cycle that is entirely artificial, the only one that is not based on natural planetary movement or changes in the environment. It obeys a purely mathematical logic. The week cycle of 7 days repeats itself indefinitely." So the 7-day week repeats itself indefinitely. My brothers, my sisters, let's peep at an article right quick. Some historical information, and it reads, "The Roman Catholic and Protestants' confession about Sunday. The vast majority of Christian churches today teach the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, as a time for rest and worship. Yet it is generally known and freely admitted that the early Christians observed the 7th day as the Sabbath. How did this change come about?" So let's go peep at the early Christians. I want to find out who was called the early Christians. My brothers, my sisters. We'll run to the book of Acts chapter 11. We're going to peep at these early Christians. And let's see how did they operate. In the book of Acts chapter 11. Let's peep at verse number 1. Acts chapter 11, verse number 1, and it reads, "And the apostles and brethren that were in Yagda, Judah, southern kingdom, heard that the Gentiles, the scattered Israelites, had also received the word of Yahweh." Verse number 2, "When Peter was come up to Yagda, Judah, they that were of the circumcision contended with him." Go drop down to verse 26. and see what's going on and what they're about, right? Verse 26, and it reads, Book of Acts, chapter 11, verse 26. When he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. Now this is Barnabas. He went to locate him some Paul, right? The one they call Saul, Saul in the Shemitic Hebrew language, right? Acts chapter 11, verse 26. When he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. So these are people that was the first Christians, or the first followers of the Hamashiach, is the disciples, the 12 apostles of the Most High Yahweh. So let's see what he commissioned them to do. Since we own this, we might write it down, right? Go right to the book of Matthew chapter 10. We're going to pick it up at verse number 5. What did he commission the 12 apostles? What job did he give them to do? In the book of Matthew 10, verse number 5, and it reads, These 12 Yahweh the Son sent forth, and commanded them, saying, Go not into the way of the Gentiles, the other 17 nations, right? And into any city of Samaria, enter you not. Verse number 6, but go rather to the lost sheep of the family of Israel. So out of the Hamashiach, the anointed one's mouth, he gave them a commandment to go to the lost sheep of the family of Israel. Now we're going to run back and grab them apostles, right? That was at Antioch. We're going to see what's going on in Antioch. The book of Acts chapter 13 and verse number 1 reads, let's see if we can get a bird's eye view of what's happening in Acts chapter 13, verse number 1, and it reads, Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain seers, prophets, and teachers, as Barnabas. Got Barnabas on the table. Now I did run old Barnabas down. Let me see if I can hit the nail on the head in the Acts chapter 4. I know it's in Acts chapter 4. I did run the old Barnabas down in Acts chapter 4, verse number 36. Let's go and grab his pedigree. What bloodline did Barnabas come from? Because you know they run around calling everybody a Jew, right? Let's see about Barnabas. We know Paul came from the tribe of Benjamin. Now let's peep at old Barnabas in the book of Acts chapter 4. And we're going to read one verse, verse number 36. Acts chapter 4, verse number 36, and it reads, And Joaz, let me make that a little bigger around here so everybody can see. And Joaz, who by the apostles were surnamed Barnabas, which is being interpreted the son of consolation. He was a Levite. So Barnabas come from the tribe of Levite. Levites was the one that Yahweh chose to be his priests. Those that minister unto him in the tabernacle. In the tabernacle of the Most High, right? Let's go back to that article right quick. Let's see if I can get back to that article, my brothers, my sisters. Let's read a little bit more of this. The vast majority of Christians today teach the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, as a time for rest and worship. Yet it is generally known and freely admitted that the early Christians observed the 7th day as the Sabbath. How did this change come about? We read a little bit about the early Christians, right? Let's go back and let's finish that Acts chapter 13. Let's get a bird's eye view, a bird's eye view on these first Christians, first the apostles, the disciples of the Hamashiach, right? Acts chapter 13, verse number 1, and it reads, "Now there were in the church, there was at Antioch certain prophets, seers, and teachers, as Barnabas." Found out that Barnabas was from the tribe of Levi, right? Simeon, we know that Simeon is the same as Peter. So we got Barnabas, Simeon, and they was called niggers, y'all. That's what they was called. This word Niger is pronounced nigger. And Lucius, a Cyrene, and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Treacherous and Saul. And we know this guy called Saul is the same as Paul. So we got some of the major players. We got Peter, Barnabas, and Saul. And they was called niggers. My brothers, my sisters. Let's peep at that. Let's peep at that word. We got our ducks in order tonight. Let me peep at that word called nigger and see what it means. My brothers, my sisters, the Latin nigger, black, is very well attested for over 2,500 years, possibly descended from a root that also produced night and related words in other language. So the word nigger, it means black. Now let's look at the updated word, my brothers and sisters. Let's see if it means the same. Now we come to Negro. Now let's go to we're going to go to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, and we're going to pull out the nigger now. The Negro on page number 213. We want to peep at the Negro right quick on page number 213. Let's see if we can bring forth some historical history writings from this book called Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. We want to read a piece out of page number 213. And it reads, let me put me back on the screen. Hallelujah. I'm reading from the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary, page number 213. And it reads, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negro. So Ham say, now the Ham is the same, what they call today. They call it Africa, right? Call it the land or the continent of Africa. When it was first divided after the flood, it was called the land of Ham. Let me see if I can pull that out right quick. Let me see if I can. I think it's 105 of Psalms. Let me see what the original name was called. We're going to come back to all this good stuff if I can remember it. But want to write and look at Psalms. I think it's 105, 106. Let me peep at that right quick. Let me see what the original name of what they call Africa today. What was it called after the flood? In the book of Psalms, I think I need 105. Let me peep at this thing. Psalms 105. Let me look at it. Let me see if I can hit the nail on the head right here. It's 105 or 106, one of them. Let me go on and just pull it out with my old faithful over here. Psalms, let me see what we need out of this right quick. Psalms 105, is it 106? Which one is it? Psalms 105. Well, I called that one right. Let me see what verse. I got so happy and I forgot what verse, my brothers. my sisters, my peeps. Psalms 105. Let me see what verse we need out of this. Psalms 105. And what verse do we need? Verse number 23. Book of Psalms 105 and verse number 23. My people, and it reads, Psalms 105, verse 23, and it reads, Israel also came into Egypt, right? Let's go back to the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Let's see who is Egypt. Let's run back to Compact Bible Dictionary, page number 213, and it reads, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians. So the Egyptians come out of the bloodline of Ham, the dark races, my people. The book of Psalms 105, and we want to look at verse number, Psalms 105, and we want to look right at verse number 23, and it reads, Israel also came into Egypt. Now, we know that Egypt is on the continent of Africa, right? We know that, my brothers, my sisters. Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourneyed in the land of Ham. Now, let's see if we can get us some more historical information. Since we're going down this road, we might as well go all the way. I want to look at another historical book. This is called From Babylon to Timbuktu. It was written by a brother called Rudolph R. Windsor. And we want to peep at page number 84. My brothers, let me put me back on the screen. The book From Babylon to Timbuktu. Let's see what he got to say about these Negroes, right? We're going to pick it up on page 84. Temple above the altar. To this statue, the people brought the sacrifices of pig meat, the animal which is an abomination to Yahweh, Judah, Israel. Because of this religious persecution, the legitimate high priest, Onassis III, and many other of Yahweh, Judah, Israel, fled into Africa, countries such as Egypt. See what I mean? You can tie all this good stuff together. So the land of Ham was called today, it's called today Africa, the continent of Africa. Onassis III and many other of Yahweh, Judah, Israel fled into Africa, countries such as Egypt, Ethiopia, and Cyrenaica, Libya. Throughout the last 2,500 years, the main factors that have contributed to the social migrations of the Israelites, Yahweh, Judah, were wars, religious persecution, and commerce. All these factors were operating and gave rise to the African Israelite population. In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Yahweh, Judah, Israel in 70 AD. General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Israelite Yahweh, Judah state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million of Yahweh, Judah, Israelites fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave market was full of black Israelite slaves. And that word black is nigger, right? Let's go back to that Acts chapter 13. Acts chapter 13. And we're going to pick it back up at verse number 1. Now we're going to, let me see, we got about an hour to kill. We got an hour left on this broadcast. That's how time flies when you really is into this thing, right? Acts chapter 13 and verse number 1. Book of Acts 13, verse number 1. Now with all that good information, now we know who these prophets and teachers, Barnabas and Peter, that was called niggas, right? Let's go find out. We was going to find out. Did we get that on the table? But let me go back and get the second witness, right? In the English language, the term Negro, or sometimes negress, for a female, is a term historically used to refer to people of black African heritage. Now we know who these black African heritage is. Over 1 million of Yagda Judah Israel fled into Africa, right? The term Negro means the color, means the same as nigger. It means black, right? That's what the word means. Let me see if I can find, the updated spelling. I thought I had the updated spelling. Oh, here, there you go. Nigger, right? But it comes from the word in. Let me see where that word at. It's in here somewhere. It comes from this word Niger, and it means black. So Peter, Barnabas, Paul, and the other seers, prophets, and teachers were called black. My brothers, my sisters, no doubt about it. Let's see what they was down there in Antioch doing. Now they were in the church that was at Antioch, certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, Peter, that was called black, and Lucius of Cyrene and Manaen, which had been brought up with Herod the Treasurer and Saul. And let's find out, let's just make it plain as can be. Let's get this on the table. Acts 13, verse number 9. Let's bring forth the witness, right? Then Saul, who also is called Paul, filled with the righteous spirit, set his eyes on him. So let's see what they done there in Antioch. The one that was called Christians, right? What they done there in Antioch, what they own, what they about, my people. The book of Acts 13, verse 13 reads, Now when Paul and his company loosed from Paphos, they came to Perga in Pamphylia, and John, departing from them, returned to Yagda Judah, Israel. Verse number 14 reads, But when they departed from Perga, they came to Antioch in Pisidia, and went into the church on the Sabbath day and sat down. Let me see what else going on. And after the reading of the law and the seers, the prophets, the rulers of the synagogue, the church sent unto them, saying, You men and brethren, if you have any word of exhortation for the people, say on. Let's see who stood up to the podium, right? Then Paul stood up and back it with his hand said, saying what? Men of Israel. So this is the audience that they are addressing. A whole lot of dog folks that they call nigger, my brothers and my sisters. Let me see what Paul had to say. I got to get this on the table. I got to get what Paul stood up and back and forth. He had some words that he wanted to say. I want to drop this down to verse number 26. The book of Acts 13 and verse number 26. And it reads, Acts chapter 13, verse 26. My people, my brethren, it reads, Acts chapter 13 and verse 26. men and brethren, children of the stock of Abraham, and whosoever among you fear Yahweh, to you is the word of this salvation sent. My people, it don't get no easier than that now. They was going to the church house on the Sabbath day. Now we need to discover what day is the Sabbath day. We're going to run to the book of Exodus, chapter 31. We're going to find out what day of the week of the Sabbath. If we find out that the 7 days of the week repeat indefinitely, right? Exodus chapter 31. And we're going to pick it up at verse number 12. My people. And it reads, Exodus chapter 31, verse 12. What day is the biblical day of worship? Part number 9. We're going to drop a dime on this one, my people. We got one more piece of the pie, which we were going to cover on Friday, on the Shabbat evening. The Shabbat begins from Friday evening to Saturday evening. We'll be back on the airway, preferably so, at 5:30. So the nights that we come with the live from Shy is Tuesday nights from 5:30 to 8:30. We try to put in 3 hours. Then we come back on the Shabbat, the evening, Friday evening. And we start the broadcast at 5:30 to 8:30. I can be contacted, my brothers and sisters, for questions or comments at phone number 331-312-4022. And I can also be contacted by email at yhdhysrael@gmail.com. My brothers, my sisters. But let's grab this Exodus 31, verse number 12, and it reads, Exodus 31, verse 12. And Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, verse number 13 reads, Speak thou also unto the family, the nation, the children of Israel, saying, Truly my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh, that doth sanctify you. So Yahweh said that his Sabbaths are a sign. And when we go to Sabbath assembly, that is where we find out about the do's and don'ts, what the Most High require and what he don't require. Let me see if I can pull out a statement. I want to run to the book of, back to the Apocrypha. I want to run to 2nd Esdras, chapter 7. And we want to look right at verse number 21, I believe I need. 2nd Esdras, chapter 7. And we want to peep at verse 21. And it reads, For Yahweh have given straight commandments to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Verse number 22. Nevertheless, they were not obedient unto him, but spake against him, and imagined vain things. Verse number 23. And deceived themselves by their wicked deeds, and said of the Most High, that he is not, and knew not his ways. Verse number 24 reads, verse 24, But his law have they despised. Let's see what law, which day did he sanctify and bless. Turn back to that Exodus 31, verse 13, and it reads, Speak thou also unto the family, nation, the children of Israel, saying, Truly my Sabbaths you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh, that does sanctify you. So the Most High is saying that when you want to learn about me, You got to do it on my Sabbaths, my brothers and sisters. That's where you go to grow. Hallelujah. 31, verse number 14 reads, Exodus 31, verse 14. You shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is righteous, holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul, that person, shall be cut off from among his people. Verse number 15 reads, 6 days may be. Hold on, let me get that right. I get a little tongue around here. 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day shall surely be put to death. So the Sabbath day is the seventh day. Let's go to our countdown right about now. See if I can find my countdown. My people. Sunday, first day of the week. Monday, second day of the week. Tuesday, third day of the week. Wednesday, fourth day of the week. Thursday, fifth day of the week. Friday, sixth day of the week. Saturday is the seventh day of the week. My brothers, my sisters, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest. Righteous to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. So Yahweh's day is the seventh day. Let's see how he dealt with the seventh day. My brothers, my sisters, my people. In Genesis 2, verse number 1. Book of Genesis, Bereshit, the book of the beginnings, right? Genesis 2, verse number 1. Thus the heavens and the earth was finished, and all the host of them. Verse number 2 reads, verse number 2. And on the seventh day, Yahweh ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Verse number 3 reads, and Yahweh blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his works which Yahweh created and made. So the day that he blessed and sanctified was the seventh day. Seventh day is what they call Saturday. And it begins Friday evening to Saturday evening. My brothers, my sisters, that is the day that the Most High blessed. The book of, let me go back to this article. Let's read a little bit more of this article. The vast majority of Christians, let me get the let me prep this. Let me prep this up right quick. Let me get this back prepped up. Roman, Catholic, and Protestants confession about Sunday. The vast majority of Christians, churches today, teach the observance of Sunday, the first day of the week, as a time for rest and worship. Yet it is generally known and freely admitted that the early Christians observed the seventh day as the Sabbath. How did this change come about? History reveals that it was decades after the death of the apostles that a political religious system repudiated the Sabbath of Scripture and substituted the observance of the first day of the week. So the first day of the week, let's see when it came into play. Let me see if I can pull this out. What was the date when they did the switcheroo, right? Let me see what date, if I can pull it out. I know I got it here somewhere. What was the date when they pulled the switcheroo? Do I got it on my time sheet? Nah, I don't see it. I don't see it. Is that the one I need? I need to find out what day did they pull the switcheroo. Give me 1 second here, my people. I got to pull that one out now. Let me see if I can run it down. My people, my brothers. I got to run that one down. I need a time slot when they pull the old switcheroo. I thought I had it on my timeline, but I guess not. Let me see. Here we go. That's the one I need. Here we go, man. Here we go. Let's get right down to it. What was the timeline when they pulled the switcheroo, right? We're going to run to this article. Let me see if we get let's see if we can get a title on this before we move on down the road. It's titled, Who Changed the Day? Who changed the Sabbath to Sunday, right? That's what we want to know. Who did it and at what time? What was the date when it happened, right? Now, biblical evidence for Sunday worship. None of these verses suggest that the apostles intended to stop observing the 7-day Sabbath and begin worshiping on Sunday. There is clearly no New Testament evidence for a change of the Sabbath from Saturday, the 7th day of the week, to Sunday, the first day of the week. The change came after the days of Yahweh the HaMashiach, the anointed one, the one you call sweet baby Jesus, and his apostles. So we must turn to history to see when and how this change came about. Evidence in history. The change from Sabbath observance to Sunday observance took place after the New Testament was completed and all the apostles had died. History records the Christians eventually shifted from worshiping and resting on the 7th day to the first day of the week. A history of the problem shows that in some places it was really only after some centuries that the Sabbath rest really was entirely abolished. And by that time, the practice of observing a bodily rest on the Sunday had taken its place. Of course, believers did not stop observing the 7-day Sabbath on a given weekend and then suddenly began keeping Sunday as the Lord's day. The early authentic instance of Sunday observance by Christians occurred in Italy in the middle of the 2nd century after Yahweh the HaMashiach, the anointed one, the one you call sweet baby Jesus. For a long time after that, many Christians observed both days, while still others kept the 7th day only. Constantine the Great changed the Sabbath to Sunday on March 7th, A.D. 321. Constantine the Great issued the first civil Sunday law, compelling all the people in the Roman Empire, except farmers, to rest on Sunday. This, with 5 other civil laws decreed by Constantine concerning Sunday, set the legal precedence for all civil Sunday legislation from that time to the present. In the 4th century, the Council of Laodicea urged Christians to honor Sunday by abstaining from work on that day, if at all possible, and prohibited them from abstaining from the work on the Sabbath, the 7th day, right? So it was changed in AD 21, the first civil Sunday law by Constantine, the emperor of Rome. Let's go back to this article. Let's go back and read a little bit more of this. Let me see where I want to pick this up at. History reveals that it was decades after the death of the apostles that a political religious system repudiated the Sabbath of Scriptures and substituted the observance of the first day of the week. The following quotations, all from Roman Catholic sources, freely acknowledge that there is no biblical authority for the observance of Sunday, that it was the Roman Church that changed the Sabbath to the first day of the week. My brothers, my sisters, we read that Yahweh blessed the seventh day. But somebody came along and they repudiated it. So we want to find out what they had on their mind, right? We're looking at the Oxford Language, Dictionary of the Oxford Language. Repudiate. And it means refuse to accept or be associated with. Refuse to accept or be associated with. Deny the truth or validity of. Right? So they denied the truth. They refused to accept or be associated with Yahweh's 7th day. They came up with the first day of the week. Let's see what it was dedicated for. My brothers, my sisters, let's see what the first day of the week was dedicated for. Go right to the book called the Unger's Bible Dictionary, page number 1050. Going right to page number 1050 in the Unger's Bible Dictionary. My brothers, my peeps, on page number 1050, and it reads, Sunday or Lord's Day, name and change of the day. Sunday is the first day of the week, adopted by the first Christians from the Roman calendar, Latin, Dies Solis, day of the sun, because it was dedicated to the worship of the sun. So if you go into the church house, the worship house, on the first day of the week, it was dedicated. Sunday was dedicated for the worship of the sun. You think anything done changed? Let's see if we can pull that out. Go run back to the scriptures. I know we got a lot on the table, but you can rehearse this. You can go over this taping, this live broadcast at your own leisure and find and check out and see if the information is so. Let me read before I go to wherever I was going. Oh, yeah, I know where I was going. But before we go there, right, I want to people had a statement in the book of Acts, chapter 17, and verse number 11. This should be our endeavor. This should be our mindset. Acts 17, verse number 11, and it reads, These were more noble than those in Thessalonica, and that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scripture daily, whether those things were so. So don't believe, don't take my word. Search the scriptures for yourself, my brothers, my sisters. Study the information for yourself, my brothers, my sisters. But I enjoy breaking it to you, though. But we found out that Sunday was dedicated to the worship of the sun. So we want to find out if it can be altered, right? If that's what it was instituted for, the worship of the sun, can somebody come along and make it clean? That's what we want to know. Can anybody come along and make Sunday clean? Go run to the book of Job, chapter 14. We're going to pick it up at verse number 3. Let's read a little bit of this. Job 14, verse number 3 reads, And dost thou open thine eyes upon such a one, and bringest me into judgment, with thee. Verse number 4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one, my people. Not one. Sunday was dedicated to the worship of the sun. Let's get a second witness. Let me run to my apocrypha. Let me see if I can pull out a second witness in the book of Sirach. Book of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus, my brothers, my sisters, my people. Sirach chapter 34. And we want to peep at verse number 4. We want to get right down to it. Let me see if I hit the nail on the head. Sirach 34, verse 4. And it reads, of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? So of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? So if you go into the church house on the first day of the week, that is an unclean thing. Sunday, first day, was dedicated to the worship of the sun. And that thing is still on the books, my brothers. Let me see if it's still on the books. I thought I had my ducks in order. Let me see if I can pull that one out now. I'm just running my jibber jab, my big mouth, right? Let me see what we got to work with around here. Let me see if we got something we can work with. I'm looking at an article, Historical Records, and it reads, are blue laws constitutional, right? Let's see what these blue laws are all about. Let's see what they are all about. I need to stretch this one. I need to do something to bring this one in line with what I want everybody to lay their eyes on this, right? Let me change the screen. And this reads, are blue laws constitutional? And it reads, yes. The United States Supreme Court has ruled that blue laws are constitutional. The court has upheld, let me see if I can slide this over. I need y'all to see all this. Let me see. Let me pull this out. Yeah, I'm just going to have to do it like this. Yes, the United States Supreme Court has ruled that blue laws are constitutional. The court has upheld blue laws even though they have religious origins, as long as they have secular justification. Blue laws are regulations that prohibit certain activities on Sunday, the first day of the week, such as selling alcohol or opening car dealerships. The Supreme Court has ruled that blue laws are constitutional because they provide a day of rest for the public. The court has also cited other secular reasons for blue laws, such as protecting workers and families and contributing to society's stability. The Supreme Court has acknowledged the religious origin of blue laws, but has ruled that they are constitutional if they have secular justification. Blue laws have been challenged in court as violations of the First Amendment's established clause. Litigations over blue laws was common in the 19th and 20th century. The term blue law may come from the color of the paper on which the laws were once printed. In the United States, the Supreme Court has upheld blue laws as constitutional despite their religious origin. And what day is they talking about? What is this blue law all about? Blue laws are regulations that prohibit certain activities on Sunday, the first day of the week. Let's go back to this book right quick. Let me see if I can get a little bit of more of this on the table. Time is winding down, but let me see if I can get read this book, this historical book, page number 1050, and see what this Sunday, why was it established? Why did they repudiate Yahweh's day, the seventh day, and substituted it with the first day of the week? Let's see. Page number 1050. Where you at? Where you at, page number 1050? Let's read that historical record again. On page 50, Sunday, or Lord's Day, name and change of the day. Sunday is the first day of the week, adopted by the first Christians from the Roman calendar. Latin, Dies Solis, day of the sun, because it was dedicated to the worship of the sun. Sunday is the first day of the week. The Most High bless the seventh day. My brothers, my sisters, my people. Let's go back to that Exodus. Let's see where my scriptures at. I'm going to run back to that Exodus. We're going to look at Exodus. Want to peep at Exodus? Want to look at Exodus? Back to that Exodus chapter 31. Exodus chapter 31. And we're going to pick it back up at verse number 12. Exodus 31, verse number 12. Let's see how serious this thing is. My brothers, choose you this day whom you will serve. If Baal, first day of the week, then go ahead and do your thing. But recognize there is a price to pay for disobeying the Most High. Let's go back to that Ezra right quick. I don't think I got that all in. I want to run back to that 2nd Ezra chapter 7. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 21. Let's see if there's a penalty for disobeying the commandments of the Most High Yahweh. 2nd Ezra 7, verse 21. And it reads, 2nd Ezra 7, verse 21. Let me get to verse number 21. I need verse 21. We're running out of time now. 2nd Ezra 7 and verse 21 reads, for Yahweh have given straight commandments to such as came, what they should do to live, even as they came, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. So there's a punishment for going contrary to the statutes, laws, and commandments of Yahweh and following the traditions of men. Let's run back to that Exodus 31. And we're going to pick it back up at verse 12. Exodus 31, verse 12, and it reads, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, verse number 13 reads, speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, truly my Sabbath you shall keep, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, that you may know that I am Yahweh, that does sanctify you. Verse 14 reads, you shall keep the Sabbath, therefore, for it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that person, that soul, shall be cut off from among his people. Verse number 15 reads, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Sabbath of rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Sabbath day, he shall surely be put to death. We're going to drop down to verse number 18. Then we're going to run on down the road. Try to get these last 30 minutes on the table, right? The book of Exodus 31 and verse number 18 reads, and he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communion with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of Yahweh, written with the finger of the Most High Yahweh. So man didn't have nothing to do. You know, they like to say, well, man wrote the book. No, man didn't have nothing to do with it. Yahweh, this was written with the finger of Yahweh. Let's see how it went down, though. We're going to run to the book of Psalms, chapter 68. Book of Psalms, chapter 68. See if we can get all this in. Book of Psalms 68. And we want to look at verse number, I believe it's verse number, Psalm 68, verse number 10, I believe it is. Let me see if I hit the nail on the head. Nah, brother Yak, nah, you missed by a mile. Let me see, it's 20, verse number 20, that's right. Psalm 68, verse number 20. Let me see. Now, that ain't what I need. Psalm 68, verse number 20. Let me see. Psalm 6. Am I in Psalms? First of all, yeah, I'm in Psalms. Well, why I don't see what I need right here in Psalms 68? And I thought I was on point. Let me see what I'm missing here. How did I miss the mark? Psalm 68. And I want one verse out of the book of Psalms, chapter 68. The book of Psalm 68, verse number 11. No wonder I missed the mark. Psalm 68, verse number 11. And it reads, book of Psalm 68, verse number 11. Yahweh gave the word. Great was the company of those that published it. So Yahweh, he the one that gave the word. Let's run to the book of, what we need, 1 Corinthians chapter, I want to say 12. Let me peep at this thing. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and we want to pick it up at verse number 1. 1 Corinthians 12, verse number 1, and it reads, 1 Corinthians 12. Let me see if this is the one I want. No, this ain't it. Let me try 11. 1 Corinthians 11, verse number 1. Book of 1 Corinthians 11, verse number 1, and it reads, be you followers of me, even as I also am of Yahweh, the Hamashiach. Now, I don't think this is the one neither. Let me try 2 Corinthians right quick. Let me try 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse number 1. Let me see if we on point. No, that ain't it. I'm missing the mark all the way around. And let me try 11 then. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse number 1. And it reads, would to Yahweh you could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. Verse number 2. For I am jealous over you with Yahweh jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to Yahweh, the Hamashiach, the one you call sweet baby Jesus. Let me see, how am I missing this? I'm looking for a specific statement here, and I'm just dancing all the way around it. I thought it was I know it's in Corinthians. Let me get my old faithful out so I can go ahead and grab this scripture and get these last few minutes on the table. My brothers, my sisters, it was a statement in the book of Corinthians. That much I do know. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. No, that ain't it. Chapter 11. And what verse I need? Well, I read this. This ain't what I was looking for, but I read it. 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse number 3 reads, but I fear, lest by any means, as the serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, so your mind should be corrupted from the simplicity that is in Yahweh, the Hamashiach, the anointed one, the one you call sweet baby Jesus. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 4. For if he that cometh teacheth another Yahweh, whom we have not preached, or if we receive another spirit, which you have not received, or another covenant which we have not accepted, you might well bear with him. Verse number 5. For I suppose I was not a whit behind the very chiefest apostle. Verse number 6. But though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, but we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things. So we put the information out there. It's up to you to check it out, verify it. Like we say, there's a penalty for not following the statutes, commandments, covenant of the Most High Yahweh. We on the wind down now, so let me slow this down right quick. We want to run to the book of Nehemiah, chapter 13. Want to run back to the what they call the old book. This is the instructions. You got to go here a little and there a little to get the understanding. And also you got to be a doer of the commandments, statutes, and laws in order to receive the information, the understanding, right? Let's go read that before we get Nehemiah. Let's run to the book of Psalms. Let's get it in Psalms. Psalm chapter 111. And we want to pick it up at one verse. Verse number 10. Psalm 111, verse 10. And it reads, the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever. So everyone that do his commandments receive a good understanding. Let me see where we was at now. Where were we headed? We was headed somewhere, right? Where were we headed? We did our Psalms. Let me see it. That slipped my mind. But nevertheless, we're going somewhere here. Go right to, we were going to Nehemiah, right? You bring it back to your remembrance. My brothers, my sister, I'm a witness to that. We want to look at Nehemiah chapter 13. I believe we want to pick it up around verse number 5. Let me see where we want to jump this off at. Nehemiah 13. And we want to get right down to it. Verse number 15. Nehemiah 13, verse 15. And it reads, in those days, so I in Yahweh, Judah, Israel, some treading wine press on the Sabbath. Sabbath is the 7th day from Friday evening to Saturday evening is Yahweh's high day, is his holy day. In those days, so I in Yahweh, Judah, some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and laden asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Yahweh, Judah, Israel, on the Sabbath day. Yahweh's Sabbath day is the 7th day. What day is the biblical day of worship? The Sabbath, which is the 7th day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. Verse number 16 reads, there dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manners of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the family of Yahweh, Judah, Israel. Verse number 17 reads, then I continued with the nobles of Yahweh, Judah, and said unto them, what evil thing is this that you do, and profane the Sabbath day? So when you go out, on the good sale day, right? Friday evening and Saturday, early morning Saturday, that's when you get your best deals, right? You're profaning Yahweh's Sabbath day. My people, my peeps. Verse number 18 reads, did not your father thus, and did not our Yahweh bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet you bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath day. Sabbath day is the seventh day of the week. Verse number 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Yoktan, Judah began to be dark before Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be opened till after Sabbath. And some of my servants set out at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Yahweh's day of worship is the seventh day. That's the day he sanctified and blessed. Sunday, the first day of the week, was dedicated to the worship of the sun. Let me see if I can pull out this article to give us a whole lot of information, right, concerning this first day of the week. Let me see if I got this article on deck, my peoples. Let me see if I got it on deck. Where you at? I gotta grab you. Let me see if I got this article. I want to see if we can get a second witness about the origins of the first day of the week, right? Let me see if I can get a second witness concerning the first day of the week. Let me see if I can pull it out. Yeah, I hit the nail on the head with that one. Exactly what I wanted it. And it reads, who changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday? What day is the biblical day of worship? The vast majority of mainstream Christians go to church on Sunday, the first day of the week. Yet the Bible speaks of observing the 7-day Sabbath. Who changed the Sabbath and why? Though he did not stop much of the persecution of Christians as a whole, it seems he did more to introduce sun worship into Christianity than any before him. Historian Paul Johnson details some of this influence. Constantine was almost certainly a Mithrak, and his triumphal ark, built after his conversion, testified to the sun god or unconquered sun. Constantine never abandoned sun worship and kept the sun on his coins. He made Sunday into a day of rest, closing the law courts and forbidding all work except agricultural agricultural labor. I mean, these big words be tying me up, y'all. So a royal decree of rest and worship on Sunday instead of Saturday was made by the Roman Empire. A sun worshiper, no thanks to Constantine, Christians were celebrating on the same day the Mithrites worship the sun. This is a blatant example of pagan influence in Christianity. My brothers, my sisters, my peeps. Let me read a little bit more of this. Let me see where we left off. Since the Sabbath was not changed in the Bible, who changed the day of worship from Saturday to Sunday? When did this change occur? After the death of the original apostles, new ideas began to be introduced into Christianity. During the 2nd century, Ignatius, Justin, Martin, Irenaeus, and Clement of Alexandria attacked Sabbath observers. Tertullian followed in the 3rd century. In AD 321, Roman Emperor Constantine established Sunday as a day of rest. And at the Council of Laodicea, around 365, the Catholic Church made it illegal to Judaize or be idle from work on the 7th day. So they made it illegal. And don't you work on the 7th day still? I mean, I ain't going to even go into that. I can tell you a tale from the dark side about that. about that first day of the week thing, about that 7th day now. It's a penalty that came with it. Want to observe that 7th day, but Yahweh always going to get the victory. These changes were accepted by what had become the majority of Christianity, but scattered and persecuted groups of Christians continued to observe the 7-day Sabbath and other teachings of the early New Testament church. How could such a major change come about? What were the underlying reasons for the change from Saturday to Sunday? Why was the Sabbath changed to Sunday? So what made the mainstream Christians, churches, change the day of rest and worship from Saturday to Sunday so long ago? The major cause seemed to be a combination of church authority overriding scriptural principles and the influence of sun worship and anti-Semitism. There go that word, y'all. They was against the Yagda Judah, the Israelites. That's what anti-Semitism, when you go contrary to the laws of the Most High Yahweh. The Catholic Church claimed authority to change scriptural principles. Around AD 400, Augustine, a respected Catholic theologian, proclaimed that the holy doctrines of the church have decreed that all glory of the Israelites' Sabbath is transferred to its Sunday. Let us therefore keep the Lord's Day as the ancient were commanded to do the Sabbath. Quote by Robert Cox in Sabbath Laws, Sabbath Duties, 1853, page number 284. The Catholic Encyclopedia section on Sunday mentions Saint Caesarius of Arles, reinforcing this teaching in the 6th century as well. These men put the changing of the Sabbath in the hands of the doctors of the church. In its section on the 10 Commandments, the Catholic Encyclopedia says, the church, on the other hand, after changing the day of rest from the Israelite Sabbath, or 7th day of the week, to the first, made the 3rd commandment. We count it as the 4th, refer to Sunday as the day to be kept holy as the Lord's Day. All right, we're going to slow this thing down. Let me go to the book of Leviticus. We want to read a couple of more scriptures, then we're going to get ready to close this party down, right? You know what they used to say at the, at that spot, right? Last call, right? We're going to run to the book of Leviticus. We're going to get a few more in, and then we're going to shut this one down. But it's been a blast, my people. I really enjoy bringing forth this information. I hope you have your pens, your paper, your Bibles, so you can follow along when you sit down to view the broadcast. For all those that are online on this live broadcast, I want to say to you, Yahweh be with you, Yahweh bless you. You know who you is. Ain't got to call out no names. You know who you be, right? The book of Leviticus 23, verse number 1, and it reads, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, verse number 2, and it reads, Leviticus 23, verse number 2, and it reads, speak unto the family, the children, the nation of Israel, and say unto them, concerning the feast of Yahweh, which you shall proclaim to be righteous assemblies, convocations, even these are my feasts. Verse number 3 reads, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, a righteous convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwelling. May we read that. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy assembly. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yahweh in all your dwellings. Verse number 4. These are the feasts of Yahweh, even righteous assemblies, holy convocations, which you shall proclaim in their season. I'm going to drop down to verse number 32, and we're going to get the time frame for Yahweh's Sabbath day, right? The book of Leviticus 23, verse number 32, and it reads, Leviticus 23, 32, shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest from evening until evening shall you celebrate your Sabbath. So the Most High Sabbath day is the 7th day from Friday evening to Saturday evening is the day that he sanctified my brothers, my sisters, my people, and blessed. Trying to get another witness. Let's run back to that Nehemiah. I don't think we finished. Did we finish Nehemiah chapter 13? Nehemiah chapter 13, verse number 11. Let's rehearse that. Nehemiah 13, verse number 11. And it reads, Then contended I with the rulers and said, Why is the temple of Yahweh forsaken? And I gathered them together and set them in their place. Verse number 12. Then brought all Judah the tithe of the corn and of the new wine and the oil unto the treasury. Verse 13. And how am I missing the mark here? I want to get right down to it. It was 13:15, right? That's what we need. Nehemiah 13. And we're going to run back to that verse number 15. Yeah, that's what we need. In those days, so I Judah, some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves and laden asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Yahweh Judah, Israel, on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. Verse number 16 reads, There dwell men of Tyre also therein, which brought fishes and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the family of Yahweh Judah in the southern kingdom of Israel. Verse number 17 reads, Then I contended with the nobles of Yahweh Judah, Israel, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that you do, and profane the Sabbath day? Verse number 18 reads, Did not your fathers thus, and did not our Yahweh bring all this evil upon us, and upon this city? Yet you bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath day, my people. Let's run to the book of Ezekiel. I want to run to Ezekiel chapter 3. I want to run to Ezekiel. Let me see if I can pull this out. I want one more verse. Ezekiel. And we want to pick we want to look at verse number 3. I think I want verse number 11. Let me see if I can pull this out. Did I hit that nail on the head? Let me see. Who is this people that Yahweh is addressing here? And go get thee to them of the captivity unto the children of your people, and speak unto them and tell them, Thus saith Yahweh, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. Now we want to drop down to, let me see what verse we want to drop down. One more verse I want to pull out in Ezekiel chapter 3. It's a very important verse that I need to put on this recording, right? Ezekiel chapter 3. Let me see what that verse I want. Is Ezekiel 3, verse number Ezekiel 3. And I want to read one verse here. Ezekiel 3 at verse number 20. Ezekiel chapter 3 and verse number 20. I believe this is what I'm looking for. No, this ain't even what I'm needing. I need Ezekiel 33. That's what I need. I want to bring this verse out in Ezekiel chapter 33, verse number 10 and 11. Ezekiel 33, verse 10, and it reads, Book of Ezekiel 33, verse number 10, and it reads, Therefore, thou son of man, speak unto the family, the nation of Israel. Thus you speak, saying, If our transgressions and our sins be upon us, and we pine away in them, how shall we then live? Verse number 11. Say unto them, As I live, saith Yahweh, I have no pleasure in the death of the wicked, but that the wicked turn from his way and live. Turn you from your evil ways, for why will you die, O nation, family of Israel? Once again, it's been a blast. My name is Brother Yagda Israel, from the fourth son of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. The name of the broadcast is Let Your Light Shine. Title of the teaching today is What Day is the Biblical Day of Worship? As we found out, Yahweh blessed the 7th day. 7th day is equivalent to what they call Saturday. Yahweh's Sabbath day is Friday evening to Saturday evening. That's the day that he sanctified and blessed. My brothers, my sisters, for questions or comments, I can be contacted by phone. The number is 331-312-4022. Also, you can contact me if you want to write a line. You can send me an email at yhdhysrael@gmail.com. Let me go over that one more time. The phone number is 331-312-4022. The email, my people, yhdhysrael@gmail.com. And I want to say, in closing, Yahweh be with you, and Yahweh bless you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. To the 12 tribes of Israel that is scattered to the four corners of the globe. Yahweh be with you, and Yahweh bless you. Shalom.
Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. First John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17 say, Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man, woman, boy, or girl, love the world, the love of your Father is not in them. All that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life is not of Yahweh the Father, but of the world, and the world passes away, but he or she that do the will of Yahweh the Father will abide forever. His will is a statute of laws, and his commandments. a better Babylon. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the union of your mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the union of your mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the union of your mind. Don't be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the union of your mind. First John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17 say, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man, woman, boy, or girl, love the world, the love of your Father is not in them. All that's in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eye, and the pride of life is not of Yahweh the Father, but of the world, and the world passes away, but he or she that do the will of Yahweh the Father will abide forever. His will is a statute of laws and his commandments. It was grace. Ooh, is grace. That me set me free. Grace. Ooh, is grace. That looked at me, set me free. If I could just have a minute of your time, I'd like to tell you what's on my mind. All the things he brought me through, some of things Forgive me